Hey, it's Dan. Welcome back to I Allegedly. And I've got a good one for you today because we have a special guest. We've got Ron Oliver, health and wellness coach from Neutronics Labs. We're going to talk about something very important for men over 50. And, we're going to cover a lot. So thank you for being here, Ron.
My pleasure, Dan. Thanks for having me on.
You started out working out at Gold's Gym when you were 22. You saw what people were going through, back then. And I know that you're older than 22 now, so you've got a few years on you, but you've seen men go through issues with, being able to work out, fitness. And as we get older, one thing that we never talked about was testosterone levels in men and how, low testosterone is a huge problem right now in men, and
It's
Neutronics
a
Labs has
huge
come
problem.
up with something, you know. And one thing that I did in the past life was I ran medical conferences here in California and
Okay.
did med tech and biotech conferences. One
Very
thing
cool.
that one thing that people dabbled in, all those years ago was the testosterone problem in men because it just to give people a little background on this, it really is an issue. I mean, it
It's a
testosterone goes
serious
to
issue.
everything. It goes
Yeah,
to cardiovascular. It goes to helping you
absolutely.
with strokes. It goes to you know um, our well-being,
Yeah.
endurance. I mean, I could go on, and I know you're going to be able to help me with all this, but
Yes.
um, tell me the importance of this right now and why men should look at this.
Well, I'm in my 58th year, right? So I'm not interested in ever having low testosterone. And I've noticed it's been a problem in my career of 35 years being a health and fitness expert with basically all men for the last 30 years that I've been meeting. It's a common problem. And I was recently doing a bunch of statistics researching, and it's a global problem. But the worst story I can tell you is that in Canada, United States, we have the lowest testosterone in the world. It's the lowest testosterone in the history of mankind. It's a crisis level. And we're seeing people in their 20s that are impotent. They got T levels around 200, some are below 200. This is unreal. We have the average 20-year-old today has the same testosterone level as a 65-year-old 30 years ago.
Here's
So
the
it's a
thing that people
crisis.
Yeah, here's the thing people don't realize is the older we get, there's certain things in our bodies that just slow down and we lose. And the testosterone levels naturally, are something that tapers off. But the importance of this and the speed that this is happening right now is unbelievable. This is what made me want to talk to you guys. Was it's at such a bad pace right now that it's not just a generational thing. It's not like it's just, hey, wow, people since 2020 have seen the testosterone levels drop. This has been something that's been declining for decades. And
Yes.
that's a main problem with this.
Yeah, it's a serious problem. Like in men, it causes huge health problems, like reduces your lifespan, 88% increase in mortality. That should shock everybody. It's massive risk for heart disease, even cancer, diabetes. It causes weaker bone density. Of course, you lose lean muscle mass. You start getting, man boobs, all of those kind of things. But it causes depression in men as well. So it's a psychological problem, and it makes men more cowardice. They don't have the courage that a man with normal high levels of testosterone would have. So it's the last thing you want for a nation is to have men with low testosterone levels because they become way less effective at being a protector and a provider. And this is what families need. They need masculine men to protect and provide, right? So when you see the men's testosterone tanking like this, you can see why our society's changed so much. Remember what men were like 30 years ago, Dan?
Absolutely. And I mean, my father was a guy who was a high testosterone man who,
Yeah.
former boxer, which he was just a different cat. And now, when you hear about the low testosterone, it goes to cognitive levels, it goes to memory issues, it goes to absolutely everything. And people,
Yeah.
you can relate a lot of the problems from everything from joint pain to cognitive issues to just
Yes.
being run down all the time to lack of testosterone.
Yeah,
And one person I know you worked with, who I'm a huge fan of, is Roy Jones Jr. And
absolutely.
but I want to make sure I get it right. 66 wins, 7 losses. But Roy, I mean, there's the first guy in 2003, and I watched this fight when he jumped up from middleweight to the heavyweight division. How he won the heavyweight title in 2003. Now, the cool thing about this is that here's a boxer that that could suffer from issues like this, and this is important that people just think, oh, he's in a physical sport. Everybody can be subjected to this, and I know that you've worked with Roy. And can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Absolutely. Well, I'm a huge boxing fan. He was my all-time favorite boxer. He was not just the world champion of middleweight, but also super middleweight, light heavyweight, and heavyweight. So he's got the world championship belt for 4 weight classes,
Oh,
which is
that's super cool.
unprecedented. Nobody's done that before. And he's a
Yeah,
super great guy. He's a humble guy. He's become a good friend of mine. I love the guy dearly. I love him even more now that I got to know him because he gives all the credit to God. He's not arrogant like so many champions are, it didn't go to his head. And so I introduced him to, a whole new lifestyle of, natural living with detoxifying the body and just going into the old ancient ways of eating because of this man-made modern day lifestyle of, drinking water out of plastic and all of these fake foods and processed beverages are tanking men's testosterone, right? And nobody wants to be old, and no man wants to have girly arms and low libido, right? Who
exactly.
wants that? And
Nobody
so
wants that.
it's a major problem. Dr. Fong, who's the chief medical officer of Neutronics Labs, I've got to meet him several times. He's a great guy. And he has people coming in his clinic with low testosterone impotency problems at 20 years old. So this is
Isn't that
huge.
unbelievable? Think of the crap that kids are eating today and the
Oh,
poor
just
diets. And I,
fake
I
food.
know, on my channel, I cover, business news and finance and personal finance. And it is just, it's not just slowly going down. It is going off cliff right now. And it is
Yeah,
awful right now because we're seeing this at a record pace right now that people just don't get it that what we put in our bodies is killing us. And the
absolutely.
worst thing is that it's doing it faster than they ever thought of. It's like there was a girl. I had a study sent to me where a girl had to have her gallbladder taken out because she ate so many chips and crap. I don't want to say the name brand, but she ate so much of this one brand that they say that attributed to destroying her gallbladder. Kids don't get the damage that they're doing, and
Yeah,
parents, because of money, they don't want to have natural food. They don't want to eat good. They just want to put, in their kids what's ever going to feed them and move on. And it's horrible. All these fast food places are killing us, and the chemicals and
yes,
everything, the processed foods are just doing a huge disservice to everybody. So,
absolutely. Like people are literally because of ignorance, because of marketing, and they're drinking and eating themselves to premature death.
yeah,
Our bodies are designed to be healthy, and it's natural to be healthy. It is unnatural to be sick. It's also unnatural to have low testosterone. I was raised quite differently than most people my age in Canada and the United States. I was raised by some health nuts, never even had a vaccine at 58 years old. And I was raised on all organic whole foods. We had our own chickens. Our neighbor had the cow, getting the organic raw milk. So I was raised the way man used to do it forever, right? Before the modern world. And so I've never had these issues with low testosterone like most men have because I don't drink out of plastic. I've known that was bad the whole time. The first time they invented bottled water, of course I bought a bottle because I was thirsty and I was out and about. So I bought some and I took one sip and I spit it out. It tasted disgusting, tasted like plastic because I was used to being raised on a piece of property with an artesian well from glacier fed water underground, right? So the taste alone made me just, it was gross. The tap
that's
water
very
was
cool.
disgusting, So I had this huge contrast. So it was obvious to me that what fake food is, what fake water is, what toxic beverages are. So I've always avoided them, and it makes sense when you think about it because our bodies are organic. They're not made for man-made things. They're made for things that God made for humanity before we were ever here, right? And so
Absolutely.
this is the problem. So if you want to talk about the cause of low testosterone, it's very simple. It's a matter of low cellular energy because your body's a bioelectrical machine first and foremost, right? It's a hormonal machine. It's also biochemical and it's biogenic. And if you have an homeostasis, everything is functioning correctly and you have a robust, strong immune system. Every year, your immune system gets stronger and wiser. So when you're exposed to viruses, bacterium, whatever is negative and bad for you, your body builds the antibodies and it starts to destroy these things, right? This is what's supposed to happen. But we have a modern world where we're using fake food to feed our children and ourselves. Of course, I don't eat that stuff. I have a
Well, it's going to
27
take
year
a
old
toll,
son.
and that's what we're seeing right now with society is
Yeah.
that this is totally taking a toll on all of us. You
Well,
know,
this is
my
how bad it is.
yes, my I have a girlfriend that introduced me to organic food. Oh gosh, about 15 years ago, and it made a huge difference. At first, I thought, why am I paying for this? Why are we doing this? You know, and she would eat at restaurants that had organic food, and it was a real big deal. But then it's also the nutrition levels because I got diagnosed with sleep apnea, and I'm like, wait a second, I don't want to be on this machine,
No,
and sleep is so important, and that's the thing that people don't get the importance of sleep in our daily regimen. It's just as important. And the one thing, as I started researching that and I talked to my people and friends in the medical space, they're like, you got to lose weight, you got to get yourself down, you got to be trim,
absolutely.
you're 5'10", but you got to lose 15 pounds, and that'll make it. That got rid of that. But also, as I start getting my testosterone levels checked, it was like, wow, they were on the low level, and it was things that I did to help, do that with eating right, with exercise and fitness. And like everybody else, Ron, I mean, we go out and your day gets in the way, and hey, I'm going to go walk today, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to go work out. Then all of a sudden you get 6 phone calls, and before you know it, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You got to get this done, that done, and people just don't get it. And the thing about Neutronics Lab and why I wanted to talk to you guys was what they were working on, what Dr. Fong was working on, because I think this was great. And I think it's really, really important because, like you said, our cellular beings, our personal health and fitness, we can control, but we need help. And that's where I think Neutronics comes in.
Yeah, they're phenomenal because at the end of the day, we're a fast food nation. And I don't just mean people eat fast food, but everybody wants results now. They got no patience, right? And people don't live healthy lifestyles anymore. When you look at North America, United States is the sickest nation on the earth.
Without a
We have
doubt.
more disease in America than any population on the planet. Up in Canada, it's no better. Here, we're some number two sickest nation on the earth, right? And here's the facts. You can't argue with data that's accurate. There's over 9 billion people on the planet. We got about 380 million in America. We got 40 million in Canada. So there's about 420 million people. Dan, did you know we're consuming 70% of all pharmaceutical drugs manufactured
I
annually?
believe that. I believe that that's the number. There's certain stats that I get, but it's pathetic. And
It's
people think
insane.
it's take a pill, oh, you don't want to eat right and exercise, take an injection and do this. It'll help you quickly. And people don't get it. They just don't get it that we need to have healthier things put in our body. So
Well,
it's
I'll tell you
important.
this, how I came across Neutronics Labs. I came across the company about maybe 5, 6 months ago. I'm always looking for natural remedies, natural formulas to enhance the health of myself, my family, my clients. That's my job. And I'm all natural. I won't do TRT and synthetic drugs of any kind. I've never even had a prescription drug in my life. I've never filled a prescription once. I believe in the natural way, you know? I don't
That's
believe that
amazing.
man is going to outformulate God. It's
Well,
just impossible.
that's a great way to put it. It's funny as you relate to people that lived in the 18 and 1900s and people that were healthy that lived a long life, and you hear stories about grandpa and great grandpa and how he lived into his 90s, and they didn't have pharmaceuticals back then. They just took care of themselves. And
Yes.
I think that there's something that we're doing that's destroying us and people don't want to admit that. So again, Neutronics. Tell me more about that.
So these guys, they have done something that's amazing. There's about a 3,000-year-old history with antler velvet, which is basically the marrow from the antlers of specific deer. And if anyone's paying attention to this right now, Google the New Zealand red deer. It is a monster of a deer, and they got racks on them that are just gigantic. They're huge.
Mhm.
I've seen them as big as 32 points. They're just a
Wow.
gigantic rack, okay? And all of the growth factors, the amino acids, essential fatty acids, all of the compounds, all the molecules needed for this to grow in 90 days, this massive rack is all inside the marrow of this antler. Now, the Chinese 3,000 years ago, just observational science, they're going, wow, look at the rack on that guy. Look at how muscular and big this deer is. And so they started cutting the tips off these things, scraping out the bone marrow, making teas and tinctures, and they found it to be a phenomenal medicine, right?
It's amazing.
25 years ago, Neutronics Labs were the first company to bring this understanding to North America, only with science discovering why this is so effective. And it's just absolutely miraculous because I'm a guy who's consumed over $500,000 worth of nutraceuticals in the last 25 years to have a health that I have today where I don't get sick for 30 years. I have a strong, powerful immune system. Even though I'm 58, I still feel like I'm in my 20s, okay? And I have never seen anything more powerful in my life at enhancing recovery in the gym, strength, energy, and dealing with the hormone issues in both men and women.
Well, think about this too. And people sit there, and a guy, let's say a guy's in his 60s. Well, he may not want to go to the gym. He just may not want to run out of gas at 11 o'clock in the morning. He may want
Exactly.
to be able to, work, have a nice day, take his wife out to dinner, walk, and just be able to have energy that we don't have anymore. And I see it in my friends. I mean, I have friends that are my age and 10 years older. We have a men's group, and everybody's at a different level. And some of these guys that take care of themselves they can do and go with everybody. But there's people that just don't have the energy to get through a day, and that's where the Neutronics comes in. I think this is great. I really do, because people, you don't want to see your doctor. You want to be able to get something like this that's going to help people. So I think that there's a lot to it. And again, it's just the sluggishness, it's the brain fog, it is the lack of energy, the irritability. And again, men know this if they have these problems. They don't want to admit it, but they know if this stuff is affecting them. And the people around them that, may not want to be around grandpa because he's a jerk. This is something that people need to look at, and it can be fixed and it can be solved.
Absolutely. And as you know, there's a big decline in birth rates too.
Absolutely.
And this
I
is a
just,
problem.
you know, I always say I would have had four kids, but I had two. And then we had my son Grant, and Grant stopped us from having more kids. My son was rambunctious, to say the least. But my greatest joy in life are my kids, without a doubt. And I just think that people are missing out right now. Men aren't men. Kids don't. These boys don't ask women out anymore. I'm a single man in my 60s, and I don't get it at all. I don't get the lack of game. I don't get the lack of confidence. We could talk about this for 3 hours, but it's funny that that people don't think that there's something up with this, and people need to get off the phone, get some exercise, take better care of themselves. So, you know, again, Neutronics. Tell me more about this. Tell me
Yeah,
more.
so this is what I want to share with you so everybody understands something. It's a combination of, toxicity and malnutrition causing all kinds of health problems. Even chronic dehydration is very common in North America. Most people don't even drink enough water. So we're so out of touch with taking care of ourselves. It's absolutely crazy. And what has happened is a critical mass of toxicity has accumulated in the bodies of boys and girls, men and women in North America because we have the worst food chain in the world, right? We got over 10,000 chemicals in our food chain that's not permitted in Europe, in Japan, and many other countries. So this has caused massive issues and our body's ability to function, including producing testosterone in men, estrogen in women, right? So what Neutronics Labs has done is something very special because of all the toxicity, typical supplements don't really do much for people because there's such poor bioavailability because most people have such an unhealthy toxic gut. Does that make sense to you?
And 100%.
Even the hormone receptor sites in men and women today are clogged up with forever chemicals and microplastics. So even if I was to put someone on a perfect diet for a man or a woman, they're not necessarily going to benefit with their hormones changing anytime soon. It would normally take me 3 to 6 months of detoxifying a human being, a man or a woman, to get their bodies clean enough so that a healthy diet would actually change their hormone levels, right? Now, what
Yes.
Neutronics Labs has done is they have access to a very special farm in New Zealand with these massive deers roaming, and it's all done very humanely with veterinarians, and these are all running wild, and they're in a sanctuary, so they can't be murdered by a hunter or some predator. And what they do is they clip the little tips off these things so they don't hurt the deer in any way. They immediately vacuum out the marrow, which they call antler velvet, and then they cold press it, which doesn't denature the nutrients at all, and then it gets freeze dried. And third party studies prove that there's 98% absorption. So you put this product right under your tongue, goes directly into your bloodstream. And this is why I contacted Neutronics Labs and decided to get involved. And I, volunteered to do podcasts for them because I wanted to help the world find out about this. Because as far as I'm concerned, Neutronics Labs is probably America's best kept secret. Most people don't know about them because they have just been slowly growing organically. It's a family business. It's a veteran-owned business, a phenomenal company. The owner's phenomenal. I've met many of the people involved, and I tried the product for the first time just about 4 months ago. The first month blew my mind. I started to put all my clients on it. Within 2 weeks, I was talking to Roy Jones about it. I was talking to, Owen Beck about it, another retired boxer friend of mine. I got about 20 guys on it right now. And what's very important to know is that there's no hormones in this. There's no steroids in this. It's been all studied, third party studied by top labs in America. It's 100% natural, but it's so powerful that you would think there's steroids in it, but it's just nature. And when you look at this giant rack on this New Zealand red deer and you see the mass of this guy and this huge rack, understand that massive rack grows in 90 days. So there's
That's
nothing on earth
amazing.
that grows like that. So when you get all of these amazing ingredients in perfect balance, as God put them in that deer, this is what's needed in every mammal. And we're just mammals, aren't we? Right?
Absolutely.
So they have
You
a
know what?
formula for men. Go ahead.
No, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure there's a link put, um, there's a link below that people can get access to this. And I will make sure that that's highlighted for you guys because I think this is great. I really do.
Yeah, it's life changing. Like after 2 months on the product, I had several meetings with the owner, and I said, "Listen, I want to come on board, help you guys promote this big time because, as far as I'm concerned, every man above 20 years old needs to know about this." And then I had a meeting with Roy, and Roy and I discussed this, and him and I started a podcast together a few months back, and we made a decision together to use his fame and his notoriety and his influence with the knowledge that I have on natural health and fitness to try to help men, right? This is before we found Neutronics Labs.
That's
So
great.
we just came on board as brand ambassadors for Neutronics Labs because we literally want to help men become men again. Men deserve to feel what it's like to be a man, to be healthy, masculine, fit, strong. And it's a shame that most men don't know what that feels like, right?
And the sluggishness, the brain fog, the lack of energy. I mean, so many people can relate to this,
Yeah.
and you need help, and this is something that it sounds like it's going to benefit a lot of people.
Well,
So
it's benefiting every one of my clients right now. So I want to just talk about the products I'm using right now so everybody knows. I also got my wife on the female formula, which I'll talk about too. So the number one product I would recommend everybody tries immediately would be the Man's Edge with, nitric oxide in it. It's an all natural supplement. It's got fenugreek in it, which boosts testosterone hugely. It's got the nitric oxide, which increases blood flow. It's got long jack extract in it, which is also known as Tonkat Ali, and it is absolutely amazing. And I've used several natural products for boosting natural testosterone production, but because they're all typically capsules that you swallow, you don't get the same bioavailability. So that they're okay, but they're nothing compares to what Neutronics Labs has made. Because I mean, 98% absorption is unheard of. This is it's
Yeah, that
amazing,
is.
right?
That's amazing.
It
It's
is,
amazing. That the
and
sublingual way of taking it under your tongue is always
it's so
beneficial.
powerful. Absolutely. And you feel it. I felt it in my first dose. And then I'm using the IGF-1 products as well. And IGF-1 is something that many have heard of, but they don't really know really what it is. And it's really simple. The man's testicles produce testosterone, right? The woman's ovaries make estrogen. And our pituitary makes growth hormone. And everybody just assumes that growth hormone is what makes everybody grow so fast as children because it's such an amazing, powerful hormone, which it is, but it's actually converted in the liver into IGF-1, which is what makes us grow so fast. And this is what makes the antlers grow so fast on this red deer from New Zealand. So all of these growth factors are in the IGF-1 exactly the way it was made through nature, through God, right? So everything's in there. So this is not an isolate. This is the whole thing. Every bit of the ingredients in the marrow of this antler is, sucked out, immediately vacuumed out, cold pressed, as I said, and then freeze dried and put into a product. And it is incredible. And then I'm taking, in addition to the man's edge, I'm taking the IGF-1. They have one that's called the 300,000 nanograms with long jack, and I'm taking the 600,000 nanogram as well. Those three, I call it the ultimate stack for your, you know what I'm saying. So that's what
Yeah.
Roy and I are taking. That's what all my male clients are taking. It is incredible. My wife's on the woman's formula, got a couple other ladies on it already, and they're just feeling amazing benefits from it. It's so powerful because it has things that women really need. It's got it's got cranberry extract, which helps women a lot. It's got vitamin D.
Absolutely.
It's got iron in it, vitamin B12, folic acid, boron, all things that women typically lack in their daily intake because of their diets being so deficient. What most people don't think about, for example, is that because we're so different, men and women, why are men and women eating exactly the same? Most husband and wives eat the same dinner every night, right? Same lunch,
Right.
same breakfast.
Right.
Well, there's foods I will not eat that my wife needs to eat to help her produce more estrogen. So I don't want a bunch of estrogen building foods in my diet, and I don't want her to have too much testosterone. I don't want a manly wife, right? So
Right.
so
Exactly.
we're on a different ratio of whole foods. They're all healthy, whole, dense foods, but what diet experts are talking about that? They don't really talk about that, right? They just give you all these different ways to consume calories, right? But what really matters is the food being pure, whole, and bioavailable, and the right balance if you're a male or a female, because we're different, right? So these products
100%.
will absolutely change people's lives because they're so pure, they're so bioavailable, and I recommend everyone I meet tries them because see, in my business, there's so many wannabes in my business. It's unbelievable. There's
Yes.
so many people on TikTok and Facebook and YouTube. All of these people are typically on steroids. They're on some type of enhancement drugs. They got fake additions to their body. The women are, you know what I mean? All this stuff, fake lips,
100%.
fake, you know what? All that stuff. The guys are all jacked up on drugs and they're promoting health and fitness. I mean, give me a break, I've
Well,
never advertised. I've been in business 35 years because it's all about referrals, right? If you're doing a great job with your clients, they're going to send you clients, right? It's just how it works. So, in order for me
100%.
to win you over, when there's so much fraud in my industry, I have to give you results quickly, or you're going to lose faith in me, right? So, what I do ever since I came across Neutronics Labs is I immediately put my male clients on the products I listed. I immediately put the female clients on the woman's formula and the IGF-1, as a weaker dose, like the 100,000 nanogram. And within days, I phone them up and they're like, wow, I can't believe how awesome I feel. It's changed my life. Now I've won their
It's-
trust and they're willing to listen to any other advice I have.
Ron, but here's the thing, and I want to emphasize this. There's people that don't want to work out. There's people that just want to get through the day. and these products will make a huge difference in their lives. And from all
Huge.
my research on it, I don't bring stuff aboard that I don't believe in, and this is something that can benefit the everyman, and people need this.
Oh yeah,
So,
even if
you
you
know,
don't work out, like there's elderly people. There's a 20-page PDF document that if you don't already have it, I'll make sure you get it. You should
okay.
read it. It's fascinating. The evidence on IGF-1 from the antler velvet is miraculous to say the least.
Yeah, send it over. I put all the news stories every day in my videos. I'd love to share that with everybody.
I mean, we have elderly people that have lost all their muscle mass. They can barely move around. They can barely stand up. And they're putting on lean muscle mass by taking these products doing nothing for exercise.
Which is important, which
That's
really
wild,
is.
right? We have
It's
evidence of them
100% wrong.
healing nerves. We have evidence of it helping with brain function. You know, a lot of athletes, football players, you know, especially boxers, MMA fighters, most of them have been had their brain rattled a lot and it's affecting their ability to think, right? Because they have brain damage. So this is helping people with concussions. It's incredible. And with libido, I got guys that are, you know, they've been taking steroids in the past, right? And so many guys are doing steroids today. They call it TRT nowadays, right? Testosterone replacement therapy makes it sound nice, right?
Oh, it's
It's synthetic
ridiculous.
steroids.
And it's terrible. It really is. And again, something natural that somebody can take, people need to look at this.
Yeah,
So, I'm really grateful that you came on today.
appreciate it.
And I want to thank you. Make sure that I get that
I
PDF
will.
and the link, and we'll make sure that we have a link for all your products and everything that are available. I really want people to be able to go there and take a look at that. And Ron, here's the one thing I want to know is that if people have questions and things like that, I always like to, when they write me, if I can forward those questions to you, I'd really appreciate that.
Absolutely. You
If you'd
absolutely
answer
can.
all that stuff, because I think that this is a real winner. So thank you for being here today. I really, truly appreciate it.
So I want to give
And
everybody the link so they can go check it out right now. So
yeah,
just go to
please do.
neutronicslabs.com and then put in Roy Jones Jr. Neutronicslabs.com. Put in the code Roy Jones Jr. You'll get 10% off. This next part might get me in trouble, but here's a little way you can kind of cheat the system. If you sign up for the auto ship, which you can quit at any time, you'll get an additional 50% off. So your first order, you can save 60%. Now, I'm probably
That's
going to get
amazing.
crap for telling you that, but that's what I'm telling my clients, and I'm telling you because I
Well, you
like you.
see Roy, I don't have to worry about Roy, so because I don't think I'm going to meet him. So, but thank you, sir, for being here. I
My
truly
pleasure.
appreciate it.
My
Okay.
pleasure.
I'll make sure the link is put below too, guys. I'll see
Awesome.
you guys very soon. Hit the like button, subscribe, email me, hello@iallegedly.com, and we'll see you very soon.
Thanks.